We have one more company. Before we get to it, I need you to know how to apply for Startup Battlefield. All these companies are here because they applied. All the companies you see downstairs are here for the same reason, and we don't charge an entrance fee for any of this. If you go to techcrunch.com/startup-battlefield, you'll find it. Or you just Google Startup Battlefield, you'll find the application. For next year, we're gonna open up applications in February, so please be on the lookout for that, and please apply. And if you know a startup that's hot in the sector, tell them to apply too. All right, so we have one more company from Binghamton. I said that wrong. Did I say it right? I got the thumbs up. We have Agritrack. Presenting for Agritrack is Jason Hill. Give him a round of applause.
Hi, my name is Jamie Sonneville, CEO and founder of Agritrack, and I'm on a mission to save family farms.
So this is me. I was raised in Southern California, but I've sold all around the world because my entire career has been in sales at every level. And about 5 years ago, I joined another ag tech SaaS startup and successfully took them to market. But being in the agricultural industry really taught me a lot about the nuances that exist in farming when it comes to the challenges they face. So about 1.5 years ago, I met Jamie Sonneville. This is Jamie in her family's apple orchard. Jamie Sonneville is a 5th-generation apple grower. She's a Cornell grad, and her background is in IT. And about, last spring, she gave me a call, and she said, I built a software for farms, and I want your help taking it to market. So this is Agritrack. Agritrack was built, I like to say, from the inside out. So by a farmer for farms, making it one of a kind. We track the most vital data that farms need, which is labor. Who is doing what, when, and where? And why that's the most vital data is because it's directly tied to the government program of H-2A. H-2A enables US farms to hire seasonal labor from other countries. And without that program, they have no workforce. And without no workforce, we can only imagine what happens, right? So because it's a federal program, it's heavily regulated, which means heavy paperwork. And farms have to track so many things already. Everything has to be tracked. They do this not just to understand their farms better, but to stay compliant. Because in that program for labor, if the Department of Labor comes knocking and does an audit, if they're not compliant, they get heavily fined and they could even lose their farm. So the problem with this is that 84% of farms today are still tracking everything with pen and paper. It's completely unsustainable. And why I say unsustainable is because the Department of Labor reports that during these audits, 70% of those audits in agriculture find some type of violation or infraction. Just can't continue. So Agritrack helps solve this by digitizing the problem of pen and paper. Farmers can use Agritrack and have confidence in their data collection, knowing that it's accurate, and that if the Department of Labor comes, they have peace of mind. So Agritrack accomplishes this in a trio of apps. The first is a web dashboard where farm owners and managers can take a look in real time at what's happening in their farm. And then there's a tablet app, which is primarily used in the field for data inputs that feed directly into the dashboard. It also utilizes NFC technology for an easy clock in and out, which is really helpful in a farm where they're going all over the place. And then there's a phone app where full-time employees can clock in and out at different locations, and it actually geopins where they've done that. So that's super helpful. So let's take a quick look at how it works. If we can move to the phone demo. Sam here is going to clock in using the phone app. And if we can move to the dashboard demo. In a few seconds here after she clocks in, we're going to see her time card pop right in. And once it pops in, there it is. We can click on it, and we're going to be able to see where Sam is working at Moscone, what she's doing, which is presenting. And then when we scroll down, we can see that geopin right here in downtown San Francisco. So who is doing what, when, and where. And we go to the home page of the dashboard, you can see a colorful array of data inputs that are used and helpful for farm owners to just have data to make informed decisions by. The reporting side of it, the one I want to point out is the labor audit report, because it's directly in line with the Department of Labor and that compliance side. So if they do get an audit, all they have to do is run the report, hand it over, and they're good to go. Another thing of note is that farmers can pay their workers differently than other industries. So they can pay hourly, but they also can pay via a method called piece rate. It's basically production-based. So like how many apples did this worker pick? How many branches did they trim? And the farmer has to pay the worker the higher of the two wages. And then when you factor in overtime, you can see how complicated that can get. Agri-Trak does all that heavy lifting for them, so we've already built in that algorithm. So payroll becomes a lot easier. In fact, our clients are telling us that payroll used to take about a day or longer, and now they can get it done in minutes and do it from anywhere. So back to the deck, please. So when I joined Agritrack, we decided to run a test pilot just to check market readiness. We signed 21 farms, and our ARR is approaching 114,000. We also hired a small team to support the customer base and continue developing the platform. But labor is just the tip of the spear. Food traceability is coming, so we're already at work on a module around traceability. And regulations around spray applications are going to continue to change, so we're going to work on a spray module as well. In the future, farms are going to have to track more data than ever before. So with pen and paper, it's just not possible. As Agritrack continues to aggregate more data across more farms, eventually we're going to implement deep tech like AI and machine learning so that we can provide predictive analytics and then ultimately prescriptive data so that farms can use that to know exactly how to maximize their efficiencies and their yields. Farms have to adopt technology or sadly they're just not going to be around. Agritrack is perfectly positioned to lead this inevitable change to connected farming. We are growing, which means we're hiring. We're looking for an SDR to continue growing sales, and we're looking for some development team, some devs, and we're also interested in channel partnerships for any software that might complement Agritrack really well. And finally, if you're a farm, have you signed up with Agritrack? And if not, let's talk. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you for stepping in for Jamie. Really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome.
Mamoon, let's start with you.
All right, well, at a base level, it seems like you're time tracking and payroll software today. And I imagine farms have been paying their employees for many years and for decades. And so I'm trying to understand what's the deficiency amongst the current providers of payroll software for farmers?
So we're not, just to clarify, we're not a payroll software. We track the data that's in the field, and which is really difficult to do, which is why other platforms haven't worked in that space. So think of it this way. You can have a team of workers that can start in one place doing one type of job at one wage, and then move in the same day to another place doing a different job with a different wage. So a lot of the legacy software systems out there that are built for other industries simply won't work in farming. So we do take those data points for time cards, and then there's a report that feeds directly into payroll because we do all that algorithm and that math for them when they're trying to figure out which is the prevailing wage.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mar?
Well, I'm surprised you don't run payroll because it's almost like, the next thing. Maybe
Yeah.
you should.
Could be.
Anyways, the question I have is how do you sell into these farms, right? I
Yeah.
think most of farms are small farms, and how are you guys doing it today? And
Yeah, great question.
Is
So
it economic to do that?
yeah, so we found that farms are, even though it's a huge industry, they're very tightly knit and tightly connected. So the first, like in this test pilot, it was really a matter of the network effect, as well as just outbound and letting them know we're in the area, we're new, we're working on helping them. And when one farmer adopts, you're sure to find neighboring farms that start looking and saying, well, what are they doing? We should do the same thing.
If your customer asks, what's my ROI if I bring in your product, what would you tell them?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. We found our current clients are reporting an average savings of 8 minutes per worker per day in savings. That was essentially what we call payroll leakage. So when you add that to the number of workers and the hours in a week on a 6-day work week, that adds up really quickly. So we have one of our first clients said that they paid for their subscription to Agritrack within the first few weeks of harvest.
Matthew and then Dana?
Could you talk a little bit about H2A compliance and kind of like the sort of special sauce there?
Yeah, so that's something that's unique to Agritrack that differentiates us from anybody else. You would think that something had come out to help farms manage H2A because it is literally vital to their existence. Without a workforce, they can't survive, plain and simple. So H2A is a very regulated program, which is what was really important to Jamie to dig into to help farms manage that. I spoke to one farmer that said that just to make sure that all the H2A is set up, he spends about a month and a half off season just making sure everything is lined up, all the paperwork is done, all the regulations are covered. It's a headache. Farmers, just so you know, just to piggyback, sorry, because a lot of people don't know this. Farmers have to pay for the housing for the workers. They have to give them transportation to and from the store. They have to pay them the wages. They have to pay for their transportation to and from. It's a lot of output for the farm, but it's necessary. They can't live without it, so they have to do it.
So, first of all, great presentation. I am a total sucker for, a cute photo at the beginning and the authenticity.
I don't know how cute it was, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good to show the authenticity, I think, especially in an area like this. Yeah. And an ask at the end. So well done. I guess, I think it's always really appealing to enter into an industry that says it's still paper and pen, but there's so much, that goes into that in terms of adoption and the challenges around it. And so, in addition to housing, I mean, do farmers have to provide a phone to all of the workers? Like, how does the app work? Like, adoption.
Yeah, so that's another thing, credit to Jamie for thinking of. The phone app is actually a web app. So it's literally a browser, where they can clock in and check in. So it's no different than
So they use it on their existing phones. You don't have to be providing anything.
They don't have to download a plan or download an app to do it.
And has it been pretty, I mean, I know it's early on, but is adoption an issue and sort of adherence?
Yeah, so it is an industry that is slow to adopt.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is there's a new generation for the first time that's recognizing the importance of digitizing farms. So they are like, we need to do this to their parents and grandparents, right? But also, the beautiful thing about Agritrack is it's directly tied to the workers' pay. So they have to adopt it or they don't get paid. Yeah.
And then, sorry, one last.
Sure, yeah.
But from the compliance piece on H2A, does that automatically sort of upload to whatever regulatory body needs to?
You are onto it, yes. So we work with several labor brokers that also help us keep updated on changing regulations around H2A. So we build that right into the system. And all the farmers, they don't have to worry about it. We take care of that for them, so it just updates.
So you'll ingest new regulatory compliance rules and then also export the appropriate reports?
Yes.
Mar?
Yeah, can I ask you two numbers? How much are you charging per worker? I assume it's a per worker fee?
So we have a tiered pricing structure, and it's based on the amount of Agri-Trak they're going to use and the number of headcounts during peak season. So the entry level for a really small farm that might have 10 employees could be as low as $2,000 a year. And then it scales from there depending on where they go and how many headcounts they have.
Okay, and the second, sorry, we're gonna do some math
back.
What's the hourly rate of a farm worker?
So it raises every year, and this is what's another really insightful thing. So I believe this year it's $16.90 an hour, and I forgot my second thought.
That's okay, it's good. I don't want to take more airspace.
Yeah.
Charles?
I just had one question. You've got these two value propositions. You've got the sort of data capture and compliance.
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like the compliance one is the more salient one for your customer. Am I getting the right conclusion from the presentation?
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, these early adopters of Agri-Trak, the number one reason has been around the compliance because of what's at stake. However, the aggregate data is going to be like none other because we're collecting data that nobody else is collecting right now. Yeah. And it's very granular, and it is,
Marissa?
Since you're starting from the compliance standpoint, I'm wondering if you've seen anything in terms of improved efficiency and productivity, because my guess is when you're looking at where people are working, illnesses, someone doesn't show up, or different needs here or there due to weather or the like, are you finding that even anecdotally, you're starting to see improvements in terms of how the farm runs more on a global level?
Yeah, right. So one of the really other cool things about Agritrack is that we start their timer when they clock in and out to the minute. It's actually literally to the second. Whereas previously, pen and paper, it's like, okay, it was like 7 to 5, you know, or there are other systems out there that round to the nearest 15, the quarter hour, which loses that gap, right? So the workers have been excited so far because now they're getting paid for when they actually work. So if you have a worker that shows up early and wants to get to it, they're getting paid. And if they stay late, they're getting paid. So yeah, productivity is definitely kind of an ancillary benefit.
Well, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
awesome. Okay.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
You guys have been a great audience. I really appreciate the participation and the care that you gave and the respect to all the companies. They worked very hard to be here. You can see 180 more companies that start a battlefield in the second floor of Moscone, so I'd encourage you to do that. But what's going to happen now is these judges are going to go in the back into a secret room and deliberate. TechCrunch editorial is out of the picture now, and the fate of this competition is the hand of the judges behind me. But you need to stay tuned. Daryl will be right back out with the next interview. Thank you so much. We'll see you next year.